Hi, and welcome to Wildly Alive. Today, we are diving into a deeply personal and universal topic: relationships. How they can break us, rebuild us, and sometimes lead us back to ourselves in the most unexpected ways. I want to talk about women who lose themselves in love, men who avoid healing their past wounds, and the ways childhood trauma silently shapes the partners we choose. Along the way, I'll share my own story, how my husband and I broke apart, only to find each other again after doing the hard work of healing ourselves. I'll also tell you about opportunities to work with me, whether you're exploring relationships, reconnecting with yourself, or awakening to your true whole self. So stay with me. This episode has so much in store for you. Let's start with something I've experienced firsthand and seen in so many women: the tendency to give up on ourselves in the name of love or family. For years, I thought being a good partner meant putting everyone else first: my husband, my child, even the expectations of the world around me. I convinced myself that sacrificing my desires, my needs, and my sense of identity was a sign of strength. When women lose themselves in relationships, it's often a slow erosion, not a sudden disappearance. It's the daily choices: sacrificing your needs, silencing your voice, shrinking to fit, that lead to a loss of identity. Neuroscience suggests that repeated self-sacrifice can lead to a disconnect from our own needs and emotions, creating a loop of unfulfilled desires and resentment. For me, this process wasn't dramatic, but gradual. I remember realizing I couldn't even answer the simple question, "What do you want?" It felt like I'd become a stranger to myself. This wasn't just about my relationship, it was about years of prioritizing others over myself. It was about prioritizing the picture of me that I need to be for the world to love me, to accept me. The hardest part was recognizing that I had allowed this to happen. It wasn't about blaming myself or my partner, but about taking ownership of my choices and how I could begin to change. Therapy helped me peel back the layers and reconnect with who I was before I started defining myself solely through others. Yes, I needed to go back all the way to childhood, all the way to when I was a little girl, because that's when it all started. If you're listening and you feel this too, I want you to know it's never too late. You can start by asking yourself small but powerful questions, like, what brings me joy? What do I need today? This journey isn't just about saving your relationship, it's about saving you. Reclaiming myself wasn't easy. It began with small, intentional steps. Giving myself permission to say no, to ask for help, and to rediscover the things that made me feel alive. If this resonates with you, this is exactly what I explore in the Whole Woman Awakening, my group program for women ready to reclaim their power and step into their fullness. Now let's talk about the other side of the coin. Men who carry unhealed childhood trauma but feel unable or unwilling to confront it. This was a major issue in my relationship. The biggest challenge in relationships isn't always the external problems. It's the inner ones we bring into them. Men who avoid healing their childhood trauma often do so because society teaches them that vulnerability equals weakness. Research from trauma experts like Dr. Bessel van der Kolk shows that unprocessed trauma lives in the body, influencing behavior and relationships, often without the person even realizing it. My husband wasn't emotionally available. He avoided conflict, shut down during hard conversations, and kept his pain locked away. In my husband's case, his childhood experiences taught him to suppress pain, to avoid conflict, and to prioritize survival over emotional depth. When I tried to talk about the issues in our relationship, I was often met with resistance or defensiveness, not because he didn't care, but because it felt too overwhelming for him to face. This led to one of the hardest dynamics. I started feeling like the crazy one. I was the one pushing for change, asking hard questions, and trying to address what wasn't working, while he insisted everything was fine. This is such a common experience. One partner feels like they are shouting into the void, while the other is convinced there is no problem. It wasn't until we separated that he began facing his wounds, starting with therapy and gradually exploring deeper layers of himself. The breakthrough came when he was finally able to admit to himself that there was something deeper going on. That moment of acknowledgement is so important because without it, no real healing can happen. It took me years of therapy and building my inner strength to find the courage to leave something that wasn't good for either of us. I didn't want to walk away, but I also knew I couldn't stay in something that was slowly breaking me. This could be a good place to ask you, would you like to hear a podcast with me and my lover? We could share our perspectives, what it was like for each of us, what it took to begin healing, and how we found our way back together. Let me know what you think in the comments or just DM me on Instagram. If you're in a relationship with someone who struggles with this, or if you see this pattern in yourself, I want to remind you that healing is possible. Sometimes it takes stepping back, creating space, and allowing each person to do their own work. If you're feeling stuck, I as well offer one-on-one sessions where we can dive deep into what's happening in your relationship and chart a path toward clarity and growth. One of the most profound realizations I had during this journey was how much childhood trauma influenced my choice of partner. We often choose relationships that feel familiar, even if they are painful. Have you ever wondered why certain people feel like home even when they hurt you? That's the pull of familiarity. Psychologists call it repetition compulsion, where we unconsciously seek out situations that mirror unresolved wounds from childhood. It's not because we enjoy the pain, but because we are drawn to what we know, even if it's harmful. It's a way of trying to resolve old wounds. But here is the thing, your partner can't heal your childhood pain. That work has to come from within. For me, the realization hit hard when I saw that I chose a partner who made me feel the same way I felt as a child, like I had to prove my worth to be loved. This wasn't something I did consciously. It was a pattern buried deep in my psyche. Breaking that cycle required intense inner work. Therapy, journaling, and honest reflection helped me see how my past was shaping my present. One of the most painful parts of this process was realizing that the love I craved from others was really the love I needed to give myself. This pattern isn't unique to me. It's something many of us struggle with. If you've ever found yourself asking, why do I keep ending up in the same kind of a relationship? this could be why. Recognizing the pattern is the first step, but breaking it requires courage, self-awareness, and the commitment to choose differently. Recognizing this pattern was a turning point for me. It allowed me to take responsibility for my own healing while giving my husband the space to do his. Our story wasn't a straight line. It was messy, painful, and full of twists and turns. When we separated, it felt like a failure. But looking back, it was one of the most important decisions we ever made. Sometimes the only way to save a relationship is to let it go. For us, separating wasn't just a breakup. It was a breaking open. It forced both of us to confront the parts of ourselves we'd been avoiding and to do the individual healing we couldn't do while clinging to each other. For me, that time apart was both terrifying and empowering. I've dove into therapy, surrounded myself with supportive women, and started rediscovering my passions. Each small step, whether it was journaling or taking myself on solo adventures, going out with my woman again, doing things that I didn't do for so many years. That time apart was about rediscovering myself, my needs, my boundaries, my identity outside of the relationship. We have been together for 14 years and I completely lost myself. I lost who I was. For my husband, it was about facing his pain and fear head on and starting the hard work of healing. The journey was equally challenging. Therapy was a game changer, but so was the space to reflect and take accountability for his own pain. Before we separated, we tried. We had ups and downs, and we tried so many different things. One of them was imago therapy. Due to not having any imago therapist close by, we read the book and we did it on our own. Unfortunately, it would be good for days, but then, in a while, we would again go back to where we first were. Imagotherapy is a method that helps couples understand each other's unconscious wounds and how they play out in the relationship. It taught us to see each other with fresh eyes, not as adversaries, but as allies in healing. None of this could have happened if we hadn't reached the first critical step, admitting there was a problem. When one partner denies the issues, it can feel like you're shouting into a void. That's where I was for years, trying to fix things while he insisted there was nothing wrong. Finding the courage to step away, to stop fighting for something that wasn't working, was the hardest and most liberating decision I've ever made. Today, our relationship looks completely different. It's not perfect, but it's built on a foundation of honesty, vulnerability, and mutual growth. We are no longer husband and wife. Now we prefer to call each other lovers. Would you like to hear us share this story together? We could record a podcast offering both of our perspectives, what it felt like for each of us, what we learned, and how we rebuilt a new kind of love. Let me know if that's something you'd want to hear. If you are in a place where your relationship feels broken, know that it's possible to rebuild, sometimes together, sometimes apart. If this resonates with you, I invite you to explore one-on-one sessions where we can unpack the dynamics of your relationship and create a path forward that feels aligned with your values and desires. I want to take a moment to talk about the role therapy played in my journey. Therapy is so powerful because it gives us a mirror, a chance to see ourselves clearly and compassionately. Individual therapy helps us uncover the layers of our own stories, while couple therapy provides a space to rewrite the dynamics of our relationship. One of the most effective approaches we used was Imago, which emphasizes deep listening and understanding your partner's emotional wounds. Group therapy or women's circles add another dimension. There is something profoundly healing about being witnessed by others, especially those who are walking or have walked similar paths. Individual therapy helped me understand myself, my triggers, patterns, and wounds. Couple therapy gave us tools to communicate better and rebuild trust. And group work was profoundly healing, especially with other women. When I joined my first group, I was nervous about being vulnerable in front of strangers. But what I found was a sacred space of connection where I didn't have to explain or justify my pain because everyone just got it. That's the kind of space I've created in my Whole Woman Awakening program. Whether you want to work on your relationship, your sense of self, or any other topic, this program is designed to help you reconnect with your inner truth. You can also work with me one-on-one if that feels more aligned for you. Healing isn't easy, but it's so worth it. And whether you choose therapy, group work, or both, I promise you are not alone in this journey. In my program, The Whole Woman Awakening, I bring together women who are ready to reconnect with themselves and each other in a safe, nurturing space. Together, we explore the layers of our experiences, uncover our authentic selves, and support one another in our journeys. We will work together to uncover the blocks we have in our lives, the patterns that are toxic, but we are still doing them. If there is one thing I've learned through this process, it's that healing starts with you. Whether it's reclaiming your identity, facing your past, or building a healthier relationship, the first step is always yours to take. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're ready to take the next step, I invite you to explore the Whole Woman Awakening, my group program, or to book a one-on-one session with me. You can find all the details on my website or reach out to me directly. I'd love to hear your story and support you in your journey. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might need it. Subscribe to the podcast and follow me on Spotify or YouTube for more content like this. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.